Toji Fushiguro, the sorcerer killer, has been contracted to kill everybody in the Sendai colony. Before I begin, I will explain the tools I'll be giving him, as well as dictating which Toji I'll be using. I'll be using the Toji against Gojo in the Hidden Inventory arc, as well as giving him his full set of arsenal and curse tools. So I will now explain each curse tool and the ones that he'll be using in this conflict. First, he will have his curse spirit, which allows him to inhabit curse tools in which he can put in his mouth and then to take out as well to be able to use as his primary arsenal. He will have the split soul katana, which is the exact same sword that Maki has used, which allows them to cut through a person's soul, and it explains why Toji with no difficulty could destroy the rainbow dragon, which Geto had said was the hardest skin among all his curses. This was also used with Maki in her fight against Naoya, where she used it as a one-shot blow to kill the special vengeful spirits. He then has the most broken curse tool, which is the inverted spirit of heaven. This is a special grade curse tool with the ability to completely nullify curse techniques on contact. This was shown multiple times in the pre-awaken match and the post-awaken Gojo. And this moves nicely to the chain of 1,000 miles, which is a mysterious curse tool that can extend as long as the user doesn't allow the back end to be visible. Toji maximizes the utility by hiding the end of the chain in the cursed mouth, as well as he used the inverted spirit of heaven to attach it onto the chain, allowing him to extend the range and to use it in a way to counteract against Gojo with him using red and blue before getting caught off guard by purple. I will also be giving him this playful cloud, which he used against Dagon fight, and this imbues the pure and solid power from the user. This allows them to do the damage based on how strong the individual is, and we saw the damage and capabilities that it was used against Dagon, who was completely overwhelmed by Toji. So now let's begin with the first fight, which would be Toji vs Dhruv. So Dhruv is an individual with two independent Shikigamis which work as if a domain. However, one thing to be important is that Toji is 1. Not affected by the CUlling game barriers, 2. He is not registered as a player because he has 0 curse energy, and 3. Because he has no curse energy, he is near impossible to track, making it extremely difficult for the modern day sorcerers or even the 6 Eyes user to be able to keep him on watch. Moreover, his abilities of speed, physical stats are extremely overwhelming, and if we saw Yuta being able to catch Dhruv off guard and finishing off with 1 strike, I do not believe Toji has any difficulties with dealing with this reincarnated sorcerer, and 1 hit with his liberation sword would cause the end of Dhruv's life, and he would begin his first conflict against Kurorushi. Kurorushi, the cursed spirit that is born from the fear and hatred of cockroaches. The negative emotions manifested as special grade levels of cursed energy. So Kurorushi has cursed cockroaches. He can produce and control countless swarms of real cockroaches reinforced by its cursed energy. These are man-eating cockroaches which could strip off the flesh of a group of humans in seconds. This feeds Kurorushi's endless appetite, and that was shown in the fight against Yuta, where it had awakened to begin its feast of humans and sorcerers alike. It stimulates pathoneogenesis. This is where the flesh devoured by the cursed cockroaches will allow its ability to continue to produce more cockroaches. He also has his ability of Earthen Insect Trance, which is a curse technique that conjures flying insect curses that can carry large sacks filled with a liquid substance that gets released when destroyed. The substance gets into the target's eyes to impair their vision. And he also has his curse tool, the Festering Life Sword. And this is an enchanted blade that mixes life and death, and there are 6 firing barrels on the front of the sword that launch cursed insects' eggs into its targets. They will hatch instantly onto the victim, and this was showcased in the fight with Yuta where he caught them onto his elbow and we saw them begin to rip up his arm until Yuta used reverse curse technique. Now, Toji vs Kurorushi is an interesting battle. However, with Toji's arsenal, I do not believe he will have too much difficulty with this special grade curse. First, we have to talk about the speed. Toji's speed far surpasses anything Kurorushi can do, and just being able to use his one-shot capabilities with his Liberation Sword makes it very difficult for Kurorushi to survive. Moreover, he has curse techniques of the Earthen Insect Trance and the Cursed Cockroaches. Based on the properties of the Inverted Spear of Heaven, they'll be easily being able to negate these respective curse techniques, meaning he'll be able to stop his biggest threats against him, which is the swarm of the cockroaches. The only real danger for Toji in this conflict is the curse tool, because from my understanding, I do not believe the Inverted Spear of Heaven manages to take away curse tools. So he would have to be able to guard against the eggs hatching onto his victim, and that would be the biggest worry because he does not have one reverse curse technique, even though they do have something of what we can assume elite level durability and healing capabilities. We don't know the extent of how something that can rip up the victim's arms and body through the insects attacking them would be very difficult for him to obviously guard against, and I think it would be the biggest win con for Kurorushi. But in my opinion, just due to the speed and the physical differences, like we have to talk about the fight with, for example, Yuta and Kurorushi. Yuta was not using reverse curse technique, he wasn't even trying to use Rika as well. So that's in his base form until the very end when he got caught off guard to then output reverse curse technique. He was still doing very well against the curse, even though the curse managed to showcase lots of different things with his swarms to be able to put Yuta on the back foot for previous parts in the fight. But if we're talking about a base Yuta, who still only used reverse curse technique until the last moment to one-shot the curse, Toji with his full arsenal has more than enough to deal with him, and I think him using Inverted Spear of Heaven will negate his use of the curse technique, and then it will be a matter of time when he gets close to the said curse, and then completely batters him with the obviously Liberation Sword. This would lead to a one-shot kill, and he will begin his next conflict against Uro and Ryu. There is one thing that goes into Toji's favour, and that is the fight with obviously when we saw Yuta and Kurorushi. They first could see that Yuta had entered the colony, so they could see his location. They could also then watch the fight because they could see him and see where he was coming from and to see what abilities he has. Compared to Toji, one, they won't know necessarily what the curse tools do. Another thing is we don't know if they can see him specifically, or if that was just because they could locate him because of the tool that allows them to see players. But even if we give them the benefit of the doubt that they could see him, obviously Uru, the minute we saw the end of the conflict happen, she then went to start the conflict with Yuta. I can infer that they could potentially see him, so they potentially could see Toji coming, but we still have to identify the things that go in Toji's favour. He's in an assassin mode, so he doesn't need points like Yuta does, so he's not going to hold back against the respective sorcerers. He also can't be tracked due to the lack of curse energy, and for him to be able to put the curse tools in the curse that he holds around his shoulder, he can continuously put it in his mouth to hide it to prevent himself from having any trace of curse energy, making it very difficult for these two sorcerers to fight. Moreover, this is going to be a free-for-all. There's going to be moments where Ryu tries to get in to jump each other to take advantage, as we saw in the fight with Yuta and Uru, meaning Toji will be able to slip away and have so many more advantages. But let's talk about the first instication of a 1v1 with Uru. So Uru has her ability of sky manipulation, which allows her to distort space, and it works similar to kind of a camera lens and being able to distort the space around them. It can also allow her to use her ability of Thin Ice Missile, which breaks guard, and from what we know based on the text from Ryu, this was enough for Yuta to be able to use reverse curse technique when she would use that technique. She also likes to use her ability of sky manipulation during hand-to-hand combat to prevent the individual from guarding, and that was evident in the fight with Yuta, where she would send an elbow but prevent his hand from making him be able to fight back. But against somebody such as Toji, this doesn't bode well for her because we don't know if she would have found out what the curse tool does, and the minute she comes in that hand-to-hand combat, he will use the Inverted Spear of Heaven, which will completely shut off her technique. This will allow Toji to completely overpower her, and we'll be in a situation where it will have a far easier time to assassinate Uru because she won't be able to fly away due to the fact that her ability of sky manipulation would have been shut off. But let's give the Uru the benefit of the doubt, and let's say she came from a position in the sky where she was using her ability to kind of stay away from Toji. Toji can then use things such as the 1,000 miles of chain and attach the inverted spear of heaven, as we were shown in the fight in the hidden inventory in the post-awakened match against Gojo. We saw that he would attach the chain to it to be able to guard against his biggest techniques of One Infinity, Red, and even Blue in the future to be able to stop the attacks from coming towards him. This makes it easy because in theory, the minute he uses the 1,000 chains of miles and it would cause Uru to drop, she should in theory fall down to the ground because her ability of sky manipulation would have been shut off, and my understanding is sky manipulation is what allows her to fly. This makes it very difficult for her to utilize her technique, and then with a liberation sword, which we can indicate is a one-shot kill, it takes one sword slash to kill her and to end the conflict. But then we can talk about something such as the domain expansion. From what we got from Tengen, he specified that a lot of the old age Jujutsu sorcerers had modern day domains. This makes it think that it will be a sure hit but not a sure kill effect. However, we don't know at this moment of time, but this still benefits Toji very greatly. His ability to maneuver through the domains without being tracked by cursed energy, it makes it very difficult for them to even get close to him, and with the fact that from what we can see he far outspeeds them, even if you want to give Uru great durability with the fact that she managed to tank the steel gauntlets and Rika's double team, we also have to factor in that Yuta was not trying to kill the sorcerer, and if he had used a katana as he's shown in the fight against Kurorushi, we could have potentially seen the death of Uro far quicker. Moreover, in my opinion, Toji is a far stronger menace, and he doesn't care for fair fights, and especially in this situation where he will not need to get any points. There is no need for him to take it easy on them or to not kill them in that regard. This makes it difficult that even if the domain can do something of huge significance, and the only real potential of the domain affecting Toji is if it's something like Sukuna's that affects inanimate objects, or it's a rule-based one that they have to follow the rules similar to the vengeful spirit back in the hidden inventory arc. Apart from those, there is nothing that the domain can do, and I believe that Toji has too many counters, especially with his arsenal of curse tools. Now we get to the fight against Ryu. Ryu is probably the person who can give him a better matchup, just for the fact that even if his curse technique is shut off, we know that his punches have the same output, and it's because of him having the highest curse energy output in this series. This allows him to potentially make up for the deficiencies of something such as Inverted Spear of Heaven, which would be able to shut off his technique of curse energy discharge, meaning he won't be able to use his strongest move of Granate Blast as well. And I'm going to say this for the one time, it's Granate Blast, not Granite, because it's a French dessert. And for some reason people like to tell me this all the time, so this is the last time I'm going to mention it. But going to continue with this, I believe it will still end up with Toji winning, and he will not have a hard time dealing with Ryu as well. With his assortion of curse tools, being able to shut off his technique, the ability of a one-shot capability of even his sword, it makes it very difficult for Ryu to be able to deal with this special grade monster. And now let's talk about how the fight could potentially go. We could do it in the same way with how he starts off the fight by doing smaller beams to attack at Toji. But the minute there is more chaos and distractions, this ends up helping Toji even more. We saw in the Sendai colony, Yuta managed to dig a hole and go under the thing and then to sneak up behind Ryu without Ryu being able to track him. And this is a Yuta who has boundless or near to boundless curse energy based on the text. This makes it basically even more advantages for Toji, who has zero curse energy, and even if you say he has a little bit of curse energy due to him using the curse on his back or even with the sword, it's still very minuscule, and if he couldn't find the location of Yuta, one sneak attack from Toji is the game over. Like I've mentioned, he doesn't fight fair. He waited 3 days for Gojo to overuse his affinity to be able to go and assassinate him. So in a situation where now they've given him one chance, he would use his liberation sword and cut up Ryu, who doesn't even have reverse curse technique or any ways of dealing with him. This matchup is perfect for him because 1, it's a free-for-all, 2, even if he was to use his domain like I said, we still don't know what his domain does, but the fact that he's not affected by the barriers, meaning this is another thing that will catch them off guard, and then one shot with the sword and then he wins as well. Even if we go and I give him the benefit of the doubt in the hand-to-hand combat, it makes it very difficult for him to continue the fight because he has such a variation of curse tools that even if he uses Playful Cloud, he will overpower him. He uses Liberation Sword as a one-shot capability. He even uses Inverted Spear of Heaven that will be able to shut off his curse techniques. And even if I give him his regular sword and combat knife that he used against Gojo, he has too many ways to deal with these people that it makes it very difficult for them to deal against Toji, whose main purpose is to not get their points but to assassinate these individuals. This comes nicely to my opinion that the fight against Toji in the Sendai colony is not close at all. But there's just too many win cons for Toji and a lack of real feats for Ryu and Uro in terms of speed to say that they're faster than Toji. Even though they may have great durability, he has too many counters against them, and it makes it very difficult for Toji to not win and to fulfill his contract of killing everybody in the Sendai colony. But I'm going to play off one what if situation, and that is if they overlap their domains. If they overlap their domains, it's another key way for Toji to win. And I mean, the real best interest if they be able to kind of switch their priority and then to try and catch Toji off guard in a way where there were points in the fight where Yuta seemed to be the main focus of the fight. Even then, like I said, he's just far faster than these people. There's no real Yuta speed feats for me to upscale people such as Ryu and Uro to say that they're as fast as Toji or Maki. They just have way too much in their assortment, and I believe this moves nicely to my boy Toji coming out with an easy dub in the Sendai colony. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out all my links down below. The next video will be on Gojo vs Sendai in terms of a power scaling video, so check out for that one. I'll be going through all versions of Gojo and seeing how he would fare in the Sendai colony. Thank you guys for watching. Check out my second channel. We'll be streaming a lot of other different anime content there, as well as check out our affiliate links down below. And make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe.